Hey, this is Patty from As It Is, and you're listening to the Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine. Joining me as always, Tamsin Wills.
Hello.
You alright?
Yeah, I've got my voice back now.
You did. Listening back last week was so much fun.
It was really I listened back and I was like, I had to stop halfway through and I was just like, oh no. Absolute state of it. But yeah, it's fine now. It's back. We're all good.
Good. Mr. Jack Rogers, hello.
Hello, Will.
How are you?
I'm alright, yeah.
Good week?
Yeah, it's been steady. I was with Tamsin on Tuesday. We went to the excerpts.
We went to the excerpts and had a real nice time.
Yeah,
Big up.
It's becoming that trend that me and Tamsin both have exceptional music tastes.
Yeah.
And go to
And
good
Will
gigs.
never bothers to
I
join
never
us.
come to any of the
And
good
Will
gigs.
never comes along.
I'm going to Neck Deep tomorrow, so...
Oh yeah, we got
I'm
next.
not.
See,
we never go to a gig as the three
To
of
be
us.
fair, the only reason I'm going is because I'm going on holiday the next day.
Fair.
Oh, that's
So I've
fair.
got to like pack and do boring things.
Yeah, I get that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll do it one time. One time it'll work out.
Yeah.
But it'll be for like, I don't know.
Don
Give-
Broker and State Champs.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
surely
think-
that's the
Yeah.
one.
I think
yeah,
that'll be
yeah.
the one where we
Yeah.
all have a really giddy time.
That is going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be
yeah.
podcast crowd surf.
Yeah.
Oh man, cannot wait for what's surfing
Whilst
on heads.
recording at the same time. Can confirm I am currently running on heads.
Amazing, cannot wait. So last week we had an absolute blockbuster of an episode. We had Alex Gaskarth of All Time Low, we had Austin Knight of Waterparks, we had Frank Iero. Absolutely amazing, so cool. All of those interviews were absolutely insane. Huge shout out to all those guys. All you guys out there absolutely loved it too. Subscribe to us on iTunes, check us out on SoundCloud, let us know what your faves are. But this week, this is something that's been in the works for a little while now. Coming out today is American Satan, the film by Ash Avildsen, who is the founder of Sumerian Records, Alexandria's record label, along with bands like Straight from the Path, starring, of course, Mr. Ben Bruce and Mr. Andy Biersack. So we've only gone and got both of them to come and talk to us all about the film. So everything you need to know, everything you want to know, what it was like for them to put down the instruments and actually act on screen, absolutely insane. They both opened up and told us everything, so stay tuned. And we're also going to be bringing back our new band spotlight. We've been mentioned a band called Chase Atlantic for the past few weeks, so we thought we'd properly introduce you to the trio that are completely changing things in the musical world. So super interesting stuff. But first, Tamsin.
We have the news. First up, Neck Deep show at Nottingham Rock City was cancelled mid-set this week due to an altercation with security. In a statement, the band said, "We are so very sorry to anyone who was in any way hurt, upset or inconvenienced last night. All scheduled tour dates will go ahead as planned and we will be taking extra measures to ensure that these events are never again repeated." Creeper will support Neck Deep as well on their US tour next year, along with Ryan Scott Graham from State Champs' side project Speak Low If You Speak Love. Jared Way has spoken about his love for comics and how they've helped him through tours over the years. He said, "When you're on the road, the downtime is insane. I like touring, but one of the things I didn't like was that it felt there was so much wasted time. So I used that time to write comic books," which is fair enough. Fall Out Boy's Andy Hurley has opened a coffee shop in Portland. Big up that. That's really random, but I can feel like it's probably the best coffee to ever exist.
Man.
It's quintessentially Andy Hurley.
Guitarist Andy Westhead has left As It Is. You can read a statement from the band on our website. Head to rocksound.tv to read that. State Champs have been in the studio with Blink-182's Mark Hoppus. I've been seeing videos of this and it's just ridiculous. Jeremy McKinnon performed Pierce the Veil classic Caraphernalia with the band during their set at Self Help Fest in Detroit. The band have also dropped a surprise EP for Today I Saw the Whole World, featuring a special acoustic version of the song. And Don Broco have dropped a new track and video for Stay Ignorant, which is a total
Banger.
There we go.
I mean, I just want to bring up about Broco that they have basically written my favourite lyric of the year in "Sing some beers, watch the match," which I just can't get out of my head because...
If there was a lyric to sum up Jack Rogers' life...
yeah, it pretty much is. It's like... you sink some beers and you watch the match and you stay as ignorant as possible.
You're going to be shouting it, Ali Pali.
Right, I'm going to be doing more than shouting.
He's going to be sinking some beers, I think.
Cool. So interview 1. So we're going to get cracking straight away on the American Satan stuff. So part 1, we caught up with Mr. Ben Bruce, of course, of Asking Alexandria, to talk about his part in the film. Played the part of Leo Donovan, who's the guitarist in the band The Relentless, who all of you have been checking out and sending viral on YouTube. I mean, it's crazy that a fictional band have essentially taken on a life of its own. So he plays the guitarist Leo, who you'll find out very shortly was basically based exactly on Ben Bruce. So we talked about him getting involved with the project, how that came to be, obviously being friends with Ash as his label manager, and it being his first time acting ever. Like, you know, he literally never acted before this. So huge thing. And he talks about, he opened up on the nerves that brought, and really interesting side to Ben. So yeah, without further ado, Ben Bruce. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. What we're doing is we're doing like an American Satan special. So we're talking to you and Andy all about the film, all about your characters, and just kind of getting a feel for what's to come, because we're really excited to see it.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Awesome, man. Cool. So I guess to kick off then, tell us about how you got involved in the project. Just tell us how it all began.
I don't know. I mean, I got, obviously, Ash's father is John G. Avildsen. You know, he directed like Karate Kid and Rocky and that. So Ash has always been a huge movie buff anyway. I don't know. And he kind of just always said, I'm going to make movies one day. And I was like, awesome. You know, he's driven, but he was always busy with the label. And I think once the label got bigger and sort of started taking care of itself, he just saw the opportunity, and he ran with it. And he hit me up and was like, do you want to be in my movie? I was like, yeah, of course I do. I want to be a movie star. That's awesome.
Amazing, because you play Leo Donovan. Tell us about your character.
I mean, his name may as well be Ben Bruce, to be completely honest. I think that's why he offered it to me. Basically, he's pretty much me. You know, I mean, Leo is from England. He's just a huge rock and roll fan from the UK, and he basically moves to LA in search of sort of stardom and making it big in a rock and roll band. And I was like, this sounds familiar, Ash. Was this possibly based on someone? He was like, no, absolutely not.
Amazing. So, yeah, because that was going to be my next question, actually. So this was, I was going to ask if, you had to go kind of full method and kind of take on this character, or was there quite a bit of Ben Bruce in the character? So it was largely, did you kind of bring your own experiences into the character and the scenes and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I did. And I think the hardest thing about playing Leo was actually going back to my original innocence, you know, before Asking took off and before I was sort of 8 to 10 years deep in the music industry. It was trying to switch off and remember what it was like before all that, you know, because obviously Leo, up until this point, has been unsuccessful. He's not really in the music industry, and this is his chance of a lifetime. So trying to take myself back to that was actually the thing I found most difficult. But other than that, I just tried to sort of put myself in his shoes, or anyone's shoes really, that's desperate to sort of accomplish a dream, starting from scratch.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously he's a member of The Relentless as well, the band in the film. Did that kind of, how was being in this kind of fictional band that's also kind of taken off as well, and that there's loads of people out there absolutely loving the songs and, you know, what they've heard so far and kind of checking out the video that was released and that sort of thing. Like, how did it feel to be a part of that kind of thing, like a kind of fictional band that had, in a way, it's kind of taken on a life of its own?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know how to explain it really, because it's like, it started off as a fictional band, and now it feels real. I'm like, okay, well, my fake music videos getting God knows how many views on YouTube, and the singles climbing the charts, and it's now an active rock radio hit in the US, and it's just like, was this all a ploy to sort of start a new band so that Ash could make more money? But no, obviously it wasn't. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it just goes to show that I think, you know, Sumerian, myself, Andy, and everyone involved just really does have a very loyal following, and that this movie is really speaking to a lot of people and taking on a whole life of its own. I mean, if it can turn a fictitious band into a real life thing, then God knows what the movie itself is going to do when it comes out. I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. Likewise. I mean, did you have any kind of musical input yourself, or was it all was it pure acting?
It was pure acting. I didn't want to sort of. Ash asked me if I wanted to be involved in the score and everything, but this was my first sort of real acting role in anything. So I was just like, I really want to just concentrate on the acting. I want this to be all about my acting and trying to enjoy the role of Leo rather than switching on and off between Leo and Ben Bruce. I just wanted to live as Leo for the duration of filming.
Awesome, yeah, because we spoke to Andy a little bit about the film as well, and he was saying that there's some really heavy themes in it, and there were some quite hard scenes to film. I mean, does that kind of extend to your character as well? Were there some things that you were kind of like, oh man, this is going to be quite difficult?
Yeah, I mean, well, to be completely honest, the whole thing was difficult. I mean, like I said, Andy, when he was younger, he dabbled in acting anyway, and he did like phone adverts and stuff like that when he was a kid anyway. But for me, this was the first time I've ever done anything like this. Even as a kid at school, I was never part of the school plays or anything like that. So just acting in general for me was quite difficult to begin with. I remember the first day filming. Actually, I remember before filming started, maybe a week before filming started, I called Ash and was like, "Sorry, man, I can't do this. I'm out," kind of thing. I got too nervous, and he was like, "You can't do this. There's millions of dollars riding on this film. Like, we put in all this time and effort, and also you're going to kick yourself if you don't do it." So I ended up going, and then the first day of on set, I was like, "Oh man, I need water. I just need water." Over and over again, "Water, please, water, please." I couldn't talk, my mouth went dry. And so it was just a huge learning curve for me in general. And then, like Andy said, there are some quite dark themes and scenes in this film. So obviously, having lost my best friend a few years ago, Chris, some very similar stuff happens to Leo in the movie. And that kind of brought back all those memories of when Chris died. And that made that seem even more real, which again in turn made it quite difficult to film.
Yeah, no, man, I can imagine. I mean, like you were saying, as well, that it was bringing back these the kind of the life before Alexandria took off and that sort of thing. Was that quite hard to relive as well? Then, in that it was kind of taking, like you say, you mentioned an innocence before the band took off. Was that something that was hard to revisit as well?
Kind of. If anything, it was more eye-opening because it made me realize what I do have now. I don't want to say that I've taken everything for granted because I really haven't, and I'm very thankful for what I do have. But you do get caught up, and these last 10 years have gone by very quickly. So, being where I am today, that's what I think about. I'm like, okay, this is where I am. Where am I going? I kind of almost forgot everything I had to go through to get here, and filming this just reopened my mind, and I was like, oh man, that was a difficult part of my time. We did work really, really hard. This is crazy. So it was really interesting just to go back into that headspace, that mind space, and relive it all over again.
Wow, yeah, no, I bet. I mean, working with Andy as well on screen, obviously you guys, with Asking and with Black Veil Brides, like you guys have done a lot together over the years. I mean, was there a lot of camaraderie kind of on set because of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was funny because I feel like Andy was one of the reasons why I agreed to do the role in the first place, because I remember thinking, all right, well, at least I'll have a friend on set. You know what I mean? At least I don't know why. It was like the first day of school. I was nervous about the whole thing. I was like, what if no one likes me? What if I'm just sat in my trailer all day on my own? But I was like, well, at least Andy will be there. Me and Andy have been friends for years. So he was one of the reasons why I actually had the courage to go ahead and take the role anyway. But then it turns out that me, Andy, and John Bradley were just like three long-lost brothers. And from day one of filming, John kind of took a liking to me and Andy, and vice versa, and we just sort of became the three musketeers of American cinema.
Amazing. So working with John Bradley, I mean, are you a fan of his work as well and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting Samuel Tarley. I was expecting someone I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. You hear a lot of stories about big actors and big musicians being assholes, and then you hear the opposite as well. So I really had no idea what to expect. But he turned up on set and he was just a sweetheart. It was just like, he was Samuel Tarley in real life. It's like, this guy is the nicest dude in the world. But beyond that, working with him was almost a dream come true. Not even from a fan perspective, but just from a professional standpoint. He helped me so much. He taught me how to how to cry on cue. You know, he taught me tricks of the trade. He taught me tricks on how to memorize lines. He just kind of took me under his wing and helped me out a lot. And beyond that, made filming enjoyable. You know, he kind of brought this comedic value to a movie that originally I don't think there intended to be any sort of comedy strewn in there, but he brought a whole new element and dynamic to his character, and I think it really turned the movie around for it.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, as well, working with actors like Malcolm McDowell and Denise Richards as well, like, how was it rubbing shoulders with them?
Again, it was awesome. You know, you kind of just don't know what to expect. There was, you know, I mean, everyone was awesome. Everyone was super friendly. There was one time, I think, on set where I felt uncomfortable, and I won't name the actor who made me feel uncomfortable. But basically, he was like, "So where do you live?" And I was like, "I live in Arizona." And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Weird question. I guess because it's only an hour flight away from LA, so I can fly back and forth. It's very easy." And to be quite honest, I just don't like LA very much. I don't know who to trust in LA. You know, I feel like everyone's after something. No one's a genuine friend or person. They only associate with you if they think they can get something from you. And he was like, "Well, who do you think you are that you can help people's career?" And I was like, whoa. All right, dude. And I think Ash overheard it and wasn't happy, obviously. This was a much bigger actor than me. And Ash just wasn't happy. He was like, "Well, you can't talk to him like that. It doesn't matter who you think you are or who you think he is. You know, we're all in this together." And Ben is very successful in his own field, so, you know, there shouldn't be anything like that. And that just made filming so awkward, because about 10 minutes after that, after he got told off, we had to film a scene together, and it was so awkward. I was sat there like, "Oh, kill me now."
Blimey. So it was a real eventful experience then on set.
It was. I think it quite honestly might be the highlight of my career so far, which is crazy to say because I am a musician and I've accomplished some incredible things, and you know, I've got way more goals ahead of me set that are just exciting. But this was just so outside of my comfort zone, and it ended up being such a pleasure to work on the movie. I definitely think it's at least a standout point in my career so far.
Amazing. I mean, in terms of the actual film itself as well, like, just for people at home listening, like, what is it that they can expect from it?
I wouldn't necessarily call it horror. I would definitely call it a psychological thriller. But again, like I said, I think John Bradley brought some sort of element of dark comedy to it, which, like I said, I don't think was intended originally. But, you know, I think the film will make you laugh. I mean, I know that even just thinking back on certain scenes, I remember how long it took to film. There was one particular scene where we lost the sunlight because me and John were laughing so much filming. So I definitely think it will make people laugh as well as hopefully cry. And, you know, I feel like it's kind of an eye-opener because whilst it's obviously not a factual movie, it's fictional and there's the devil and blah, 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 blah. I think a lot of it is quite factual when you look at the music industry, because there are people just like that, and there are people that will quite literally sell their soul in order to get rich and famous, or what they consider to be rich and famous. And, you know, in that aspect, I think it's quite eye-opening because there are some subconscious levels of reality strewn throughout this film. So I just think it's a really awesome film. I yesterday, for the first time, saw the official trailer that's going to be in cinemas and stuff before other similar films and everything, and I was just like, wow, this is like a real movie. This is insane.
Wow, so it really sheds a lot of light then on what the music industry is like these days.
I think it really does. Yeah, obviously, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not saying that fucking Satan is under our feet and coming up and offering bands contracts, but yeah, there's an underlying element of truth there. You know, there are a lot of, I feel, record executives and people out there that are like, give me everything and I'll give you back very little in return. You know, they offer fame and lights and cameras and stuff, but they literally suck the life out of you, you know. So it's definitely a crazy thing to watch.
Amazing. So, yeah, really, really fun, interesting chat with Ben. As I say, I mean, he'd never acted before that, as he revealed. So it was really interesting to kind of see that side. Because obviously, Asking and known as such a sort of cocksure band, that It was really interesting to see him opening up about being so nervous and sort of phoning Ash up a week before and not wanting to do it and things like that. Tamsin, what do you take from it?
I'm really intrigued to find out who the actor was that he had a bit of a kerfuffle with.
Oh dear, yeah.
Like, that's some really serious gossip that he dropped there, and I'm like, you can't not tell us who it was.
It's like dangling the carrot. And
Yeah.
then like at the last minute pulling it away and laughing.
Yeah. I think it was like I said, it was quite nice to kind of see a different side to Ben, because he's probably got this persona of who he is and asking Alexandria, and for him to be like, I got so nervous about doing this that I just called them up and was like, I can't do it, I'm not doing it, I'm pulling out, find someone else. And they were like, absolutely not. Get here now. You need to be on set. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see the film actually, and kind of see how the band is portrayed. So yeah, I felt like I am really intrigued to see. It's going to be, I think it's the same for whenever you see someone from a band transitioning onto the screen. You kind of have to forget what you know them as. And I'm really intrigued to see how both their characters are kind of come across, and like having to forget that it's Ben Bruce and asking Alexandria and kind of believe the role.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's really interesting what Ho said. It was literally a very bold thing to say, and it was the proudest moment of his career so far. And you think about, what Arskin have achieved to date over the past 10 years. That's a crazy thing. Jack?
I mean, it's kind of what Tamsin was saying there, that it's be interesting to see what they're kind of like. You have to separate the band from the character. And it's how he said, when you asked him, well, did you do any of the musical side of things? He was like, no, I just did the acting. Like, I didn't want to include music. I think that's, on one hand, it's a bold move, because like when your bread and butter is like smashing riffs, and you're like, well, the part of this film, it's a music film. It's not like I'm doing a rom-com or something. Like, it's a film which is about music. And to go, well, actually, I just want to do the acting, and pushing himself that far, like, it's something really cool to do. Like, not a lot of people really go into that realm. They'd be like, well, actually, can I just write this one thing for the band? Can I do this bit? But he just went, I'm going to go in and just do this, like, this new challenge, and completely invest himself in it. But the other thing was, I said that because his character in the film, like, even though Andy is like the forefront, he's like the raucous guitarist. It was like him saying it took him back to his like original innocence of Askin, like from 2008, 2009, which was kind of before, like, it was the transition period between them being like, like post-hardcore saviors and like rock and roll like vagabonds. That it's that point before, like, it's when everything's still exciting and everything's still new. I think revisiting that for him, like, it kind of maybe it like closed a few doors as well, because now he's a family man, he's doing everything else on the side, like opening this. It's kind of like being able to revisit that and kind of like shut the book on and realise, like, oh, I've realised why I'm in the position I am today because of where I am. Like, I think it's like, you can tell it's been therapeutic. Like, as you say, you don't really say something's the proudest moment of your life unless you mean it.
Yeah.
That's like a sentence you throw around maybe 2 or 3 times in your 90 years on this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it shows just how much you put into this project. And like you say, it's a really good point about how I think maybe it was very therapeutic and it shut some doors for him. And I think that's the really interesting thing is as well, that this used to happen a lot more, that you used to get a lot of crossover between music and film. You used to get famous people in bands acting in films quite a lot, whereas now it doesn't really happen so much. The worlds are quite separated. So I think this is a really cool kind of bridging, and we're going to be talking that a bit more later about different genres coming together in the music world at the moment. It's interesting that that's actually expanding to across art forms, to the point where, we are getting people like Andy Biersack and Ben Bruce literally ended up on the screen and wanting to purely act. Like you say, they don't want to get involved in the musical side of things because they want to give their all to, a real piece of method acting. So yeah, I just can't wait to see the film. Can't wait to see what Ben's brought to the table. You guys in agreement?
Oh, I am
definitely.
well excited.
Maybe we should do like a rock sound trip to the cinema.
I'll be sorry for that, yeah.
I'm properly up for
Yeah,
that. Like,
we can share some popcorn.
I'm not sharing.
All right.
It looks so offended.
Get
Jack does not share food.
your own popcorn.
Amazing. So, yeah.
Shout out Joey Tribbiani.
Oh, yes. Completely lost my point. Amazing. So, more on American Satan in a little bit with Mr. Andy Biersack. Huge shout out to Ben for coming on. Can't wait to chat to him again. So, Jack.
It's listeners' questions. Bleh. So this week we're going to begin. This is Milo and Twitch. Sick name. It's becoming more and more common for artists to blend a number of genres into their music. What are some interesting genre combinations that haven't been utilised yet? I mean, for me, these ones, like, I've got a couple which are like the best ones for me, because I'm a massive advocate of like synthcore, which was like from 2008, like the combination of like euphoric trance synths with like guttural like breakdowns, you know, Abandon All Ships, the Attack, like the original Attack album, shout out Stickly. So I'm fully for like the weird kind of like like ones which shouldn't suit. So like what I put it down, I'd love to hear like a grindcore and power pop combination, where it's kind of like it's the intensity of grindcore in like minute bursts, but like with the sugary sweetness of like We the Kings.
I would really like to see a full brass band taking on like metalcore of like,
yeah, sick.
So think like The Devil Wears Prada, like Old School of Mice and Men, Under Oath, things like that, but with like trumpets.
Oh, a bit like, you know, like, because a lot of those, like, they kind of like do programmed strings, don't they?
Yeah.
But like with an actual live band at the back.
Yeah, and I'm like I'm picturing in my head it's full like jazz band with like stripy jackets and stuff, and like double bass, and like there's obviously there's a saxophone in there, and like a trombone, and just like a little percussionist at the back and stuff, but just doing really filthy breakdowns.
Yeah, I get that. I think
if you agree, tweet us and we'll see what we can do. If you're a marching band, if you're in a marching band and you think you can make this work, please let me know.
If your passions are marching band and Suicide Silence, like
oh man,
get in touch.
Do us a video, yeah. I just want pop punk bands to start bringing in pop stars, like State Champs, bringing Charlie XCX, Stand Atlantic, get Halsey on there, you know, or vice versa.
I mean, State Champs, a photo did surface the other day of them hanging out with Shawn Mendes. So if that doesn't happen, I'm going to flip some tables.
Yeah. I am Smiley. Nah. But, right, I was having to read that, but it's kind of a bit like it could be one of many things, but I'm going to stick with I am Smiley. Nah. Because it's kind of like, I'm Smiley, nah. They asked if you could make a movie about any band or musician, which artist would it be about, and which actor would you choose to play them? I'd love to see the story of the Wonder Years with Chris Pratt playing Soupy.
Oh, please make that happen.
I reckon that would be sick.
That would be sick.
Like, because I was trying to think who's a suitable kind of like, who could pull it off, but every single element of Chris Pratt, just bring it in, a bit of sadness, a bit of hilarity, just telling the story of how a band went from playing gyms and easycore to arenas and sad pop punk with a bit of like Star-Lord in there.
That's such a good shout. Can't follow that.
So you're going to leave it up to Tamsin? I can't follow
so
that,
expectant.
My plan in my head is to do a film about Panic at the Disco, but in the kind of style of Grease. So it's very 50s, set in Las Vegas. Like, the only thing you guys can help me out here is I can't think who to play Brendan Urie, because it's got to be someone that's got bloody good singing voice.
Ewan McGregor.
No, he hasn't got the quiff.
He could.
Like, it's gonna have to be a really good wig.
I'm trying to think who's actually done. Who's done like a really good performance in a film where he has got to sing, and you're like, oh, he's got a good voice.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman does not have a good. Hugh Jackman does not have.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe definitely doesn't have a good.
If you're listening, tweet us with who you think could play Brendan Urie in a film about them.
It would have to be like Tommy Wiseau in The Room, where it's just like, well, no one else can play it, so I'm going to play the lead.
Yeah.
I
would fully be up for Brendan Urie just being in it anyway and like playing himself.
Yeah.
How about you, Will?
Right, so I want a My Chemical Romance movie, and none of these actors look anything like My Chemical Romance, but I just love the chemistry they'd have and the rapport. So going Patrick Wilson, Adam Scott, John Hamm, and Seth Rogen, and I want Ellen Page to show up at some point because I love her.
I was going to say, like, in my head, when I thought of that, I was like, yeah?
Who would be the best Gerard out of those guys?
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen, yeah.
Oh, man.
Gerard Way with a curly fro.
Oh, if that happened, amazing. I think that might be my favourite question we've been asked.
I mean, that was mad. Well done, everyone. That was brilliant.
Amazing. So, we have launched a brand new issue. Shop.roxanne.tv is the place to be. Fall in Reverse. Absolutely amazing. Their only UK magazine cover this year. Ronnie Radke opened up across the board to our editorial director Ryan Burden, an absolutely amazing feature. So if you're a Fall in Reverse fan and you're just curious about what's been going on with the band and what's been going on inside the head of one of the most interesting stars in our world and across music in general, get involved. You can get the sticker bundle, which is 2 limited edition Fall in Reverse covers. Absolutely amazing with a very, very cool, huge sticker sheet. Or if you're a super, super fan or you just want to go in and get all this cool stuff, you can get the deluxe bundle, which is the 2 limited edition covers, but with also an exclusive tote bag, an exclusive pin badge, hand-signed postprint from Mr. Ronnie Radke himself, and of course the sticker sheet. So, so cool. Get involved. Really, really interesting stuff. Also features chats with Against the Current, Architects, stuff on the Secret Rockstar, which is so, so interesting, and loads more. So get involved, shop.roxanne.tv. Spotify plays as well, of course, an updated Rock Sound chart this week. Don Broker Stegner, which we just raved about, is currently number 1. Loads and loads of bangers, so many bangers on there. Definitely get involved with it. Follow us on Spotify, updated every week. Get involved. And our Scuzz TV show, of course, is on daily. Also, brand new show this month to coincide with the Fall in Reverse magazine. So get involved with that and watch along, read along with that on daily on Scuzz TV. Amazing. So interview 2. Right. Mr. Andy Biersack, returning to the podcast. Last time we spoke to him about all things music, so Black Veil Brides, Andy Black, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, we went completely inside American Satan with me, playing the lead, Johnny Faust. He really opened up about playing the lead, and as you'll find out, and as you may know, as a fan of Andy, he did act originally when he first moved to LA when he was much younger, before he started Black Veil Brides. So I think it was a real way for him to reignite that passion. But again, there was a lot to kind of take on. And I think, as Jack touched on earlier, there was an element of therapy to him playing Johnny as well. So anyway, we'll let him do the talking. Without further ado, Mr. Andy Biersack on American Satan. Thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. So what we're doing is we're running an American Satan special. So we're speaking to you and Ben Bruce. How did you get involved?
Well, just because I know that you said Ben's going to be on this, and obviously you guys being English, I will speak in an English accent for the rest of the podcast so that everyone feels comfortable. Just so all the voices line up. Yeah, no, I won't. I won't, because I will immediately offend someone with how terrible my English accent will be. So yeah, I've known Ash for probably, I don't know, about 8 or 9 years. He was actually the first official kind of representative of Black Veil Brides when it comes to having an agent or anybody that kind of took us on. He was our first booking agent, and in fact was someone that really believed in Black Veil Brides at a time where not a lot of people did. And this was right around the same time that Asking was starting as well. I think both of us put out our first record within a few months of each other, and kind of came up at the same time. So it's always been something that in my life, Ash has been important to me and has been a huge supporter. And so it was around the summer of 2015 that he came to me on Warped Tour and kind of said, "Hey, I wrote this movie and I've got you in mind for the lead character." I kind of wrote it with you in mind. Obviously, the character's name is Johnny, not Andy. He is from middle of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. I'm from southern Ohio, Cincinnati. So you can see there's big differences there right away. But the truth is that the character in the movie and me took a very different path. You know, the character in the movie moves to LA to become a big rock star, and things sort of unravel for him, and his life takes a pretty crazy turn.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of a half and half, because when I posed that question to Ben, he was saying that Leo Donovan may as well have been called Ben Bruce. So like, how much method acting was there for you, and how much kind of basing it on your own experiences was there?
Well, it's interesting because I have some experience with the the craziness of being on tour and being on the road and all that stuff. Particularly when I was younger, I've talked about a lot that when I was younger, I kind of, I would try my best to be as crazy and whatever is possible. But in many ways, I was more so just a passenger because it never really felt like me. The kind of excess and insanity of rock and roll, it always kind of felt like something that maybe I was aspiring to be. And so in that way, I kind of was always able to look at it in a more analytical sense. Even if I was involved in being crazy and drunk and insane, I still had that part of me that was like, this is kind of crazy and stupid. But the character in the movie really falls for the trapments and the excess pretty quickly and goes to a much darker place than fortunately for me, I was ever put into. And obviously there's a supernatural element to this movie, which I've been fortunate to also not have to deal with. But as far as method acting, the truth is that I don't think a lot of people know that I have some acting experience. I went to an art school. I was a drama major. I first moved to Los Angeles under the guise of acting. Obviously being in a rock band has always been my dream, but when I was younger, that wasn't really a possibility. And so I paid my bills, so to speak, when I first got out here by doing commercial work and pilot work and stuff like that. Some people have seen some rather silly and embarrassing PSA commercials, anti-drug PSAs that I made as a kid. It was stuff that I really enjoyed. The first person that really believed in me in my life outside of my family and was like a coach to me was my acting teacher, David Roth in Cincinnati at the School for Creative and Performing Arts. And he was someone that I didn't have any aspirations of acting. I didn't really think about it. I knew I just wanted to be an entertainer. And so maybe about 8th grade or so, he took me under his wing and kind of saw stuff in me as a rock guy performing in, garage bands and stuff and thought, oh, well, you can kind of use this as a chance to act in something. And so he started putting me as the lead in various plays at the show, or plays at the school. And it kind of went on from there. So it's always been a love that I've had, but it was certainly something that I wasn't able to do on a professional level until now. And so while I don't share the experiences that Johnny has in his life with all that crazy stuff, I certainly was able to play upon some things. And with the limited acting experience I had, I hope I did a good job.
Amazing. I can't wait to see it. I mean, in terms of taking on the lead role, was it a difficult role to take on, especially as the lead role as well?
The thing about any kind of role when you don't have a tremendous amount of experience is that, at least in my viewpoint, being prepared and being able to kind of engulf yourself in the mindset and the psyche of what you're doing is probably the most important thing. So I read the script 6 million times. I tried to really understand every element of the character. I tried to put myself in those places that, it was also emotionally for me. You have to understand that we filmed this movie maybe 4 or 5 months after my kind of complete sobriety, my decision to completely stop drinking and to change my health and personal health. So a lot of that was still very fresh for me. And so a lot of the elements of this character getting involved in some really dark stuff was emotionally, again, while it wasn't a direct one-to-one comparison to my own experiences, there was certainly an emotional element to it that I could tap into and do my best to kind of convey someone who's kind of going off the rails and losing control.
Amazing. So were there some really difficult scenes to film then?
Yeah, I think one thing that you don't necessarily think about when you're someone who doesn't have a tremendous amount of acting experience. Now, fortunately for me, I had been around actors living in LA, whether it was friends or what have you. And so I understood to some degree how I guess grinding it can be when you're doing a particularly emotional scene and it has to be done at 4 a.m. and, you have to really work yourself up and you haven't slept and it's hard to eat because you're focusing and, all of those things that could be kind of emotionally and physically taxing. There were certainly times where we would finish a scene and, I would drive home for the night and I'd get home and just feel kind of just spent, or kind of shook a little bit by the whole emotion of what it was. But I'm not gonna lie to you and say that, I'm some brilliant method actor. I certainly did my best, but I think that the thing that was probably most, overwhelming when it comes to an emotional response to something that is intense is that, you kind of get, I believe that if you really give a shit, so to speak, you can kind of get taken by the emotion of what you're doing. And I know that was certainly the case for many of the people in the film, because look, the movie is not dreary by any means. It's certainly a thriller, and it's certainly something that is a fast paced, and there's a lot of rock and roll, and there's a great kind of artistic and aesthetic vibe to it. But there's certainly dark subject matter. And when you're dealing with that on any level, I think if you're trying to, an actor's job is to pretend, I suppose, that they are the people in that situation. And so for a lot of us who had limited experience, I think that that's something that could certainly get taxing emotionally. But, it's certainly playing pretend at the end of the day. And I had a lot more fun than I did have sadness.
Awesome. Yeah, because how was it working with Ben as well in particular? Because obviously you guys are long-time friends, and how was that to kind of put that onto the screen in a kind of fictitious format? Yeah,
well, Ben and I had a joke that kind of went through that we will never have a job where the bar is set so low for us ever again, because it being our first movie. Anytime, the two of us walked on the set with, I believe, all of the crew, and everyone's assumption was that we were going to be, if we were passable, we were going to get applause. So the fact that I believe that both of us did a great job, we were basically just treated like, we had done, we were like a good dog who just did a trick kind of thing, what I mean, every day. So that was certainly enjoyable, being able, because now that people can see, I believe that both of us have chops. At least I think so. I think moving forward, it would be very difficult to be treated with that level of reverence just for doing your job. But I think we both enjoyed being able to be celebrated for not sucking.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the truth is that I've known Ben we came up together, and our bands were, as I said earlier, kind of neck and neck when it came to. We would play this venue one night, and then they would play the venue the other night, or vice versa. And we were kind of, in the early days, we've talked about it a lot. We were kind of like two rival groups. We would have a crew that would work for us and work for them, and people would talk shit behind each other's back. And this guy said this thing about you, and it's kind of not uncommon when you have two bands full of big personalities that are kind of coming up and struggling to make it at the same time, and you're targeting for the same thing. So in that way, we kind of have a funny relationship, because Ben had a very different understanding of who I was when we were younger, and the same goes for me with him. So as we got older and realized that we were very similar, it's been a lot of fun to kind of laugh about the past and that kind of thing.
Amazing, yeah, because was it a really proud moment as well to kind of share that between the two of you? Because Ben said it, making the film was one of the highest points of his career. Is that the same for you?
Oh, yeah. For me, again, because of my experience in the past, and because really so much of my life and career is predicated on the confidence that I gained from someone like David Roth being my acting coach, and that spread into my musician life as well. I think that it was something where I felt a tremendous amount of pride and excitement, and I just can't wait for people to see it, honestly. I think the one thing is there's a certain element to the movie that it's certainly a R-rated movie, and I do a lot of very fucked up things in this movie, and so, some of the time with some of the younger audience, I feel the need to kind of go like, hey guys, please remember, this is a movie. I didn't really do any of this stuff. But, because I think sometimes with the nature of social media and everything, and I've said this before, I think many times we become just characters in people's lives. The reality of us as human beings is sometimes taken away because I'm pixels on a screen more often than I'm a person that they've ever actually had a conversation with. And so my importance to someone's life is much like the importance of a friend that you maybe don't see a lot or something like that. And so people can kind of dictate how they feel about you based on small context clues. And so I would be very surprised if I don't get some people who suddenly are very angry at me because they believe that Johnny Faust did something that I did, when in reality I'm just an actor in a movie and I'm doing what I'm told to do.
And speaking of that, I was on that tangent. Do you think Black Veil and Andy Black fans are going to be really into the movie?
I think so. I think that anybody who's interested in kind of dark, scary stuff, is going to be into this. Obviously, with someone like Malcolm McDowell in the film playing this kind of supernatural version of himself, it's bound to be kind of creepy and scary. And I think that there's some really standout performances in this movie. Mark Boone Jr. is fantastic. John Bradley West is fantastic. I think Ben is fantastic. Really, the whole band, the whole cast as the band is fantastic. So, I think that really anybody can enjoy this. And, you sit down to see it for the first time like we did just a couple months ago. for the kind of the soft premiere in LA, and I had John Feldman there and the whole Black Veil Brides band and my wife and my sister-in-law, my father-in-law. It was a really emotional experience to get to see it in that setting. And just this week, Ben and John Bradley West and I will be going to a few different film festivals and stuff and get to watch the movie together in theaters. So I think it's, all in all, I think anybody that maybe enjoys rock and roll and likes crazy shit will like this movie. And if they don't, then I disagree with them heartedly.
Amazing, man. Yeah, because Ben was saying that you guys formed a real friendship with John Bradley West, and that he actually said you guys were like the three musketeers of American Satan. Like, is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we both, the three of us, really had so much fun, and you know, I've spoken to John many times about it since that. There's very few experiences that I've had in my professional life where I laughed quite as much every day and had so much fun. It was really a joy. You know, they aren't from LA, and I live not far away from where their hotel was, and I'd pick them up in my car every morning, and we'd drive to set together, and just basically tease and make fun of and laugh, and it was a really good time. And if nothing else, you know, you look back at some of those times in your life where things are particularly funny or exciting, or you really formed a special bond, and this is certainly one of those times.
Oh man, that's really, really cool. I mean, as well, like just with the film, something that Ben said about the film as well, that it actually kind of highlights a lot of truth about places like LA and that sort of thing, and that it kind of shows that, you know, sometimes there is a bit of a price you pay for fame and that sort of thing. Do you think there is kind of, even though it's a supernatural film, do you think there is an element of truth to what Ash has come up with in the script and that sort of thing?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, I think that the choice that you make and how you're going to succeed is one that can kind of resonate throughout the decisions that you make for the rest of your career. And as someone who, I've now been totally sober for well over a year, and the quality of my life and my decision making and my ability to be a little bit more on the ball with everything and see, kind of be a bit more perceptive to how people might be kind of, you know, not having the best interest for me in mind, and you know, people that you surround yourself with and that kind of thing. Whether this has the supernatural element or not, that's true of anybody. This young kid in this movie moves to Hollywood to be a big rock star, and immediately surrounds himself with the wrong situations and the wrong characters, and ultimately puts himself in a position to fail despite the success he might have. Emotionally, he's kind of failing. So I think that's absolutely true.
Amazing. So yeah, really, really brilliant chat with Andy yet again. Huge shout out to him coming on the show. Jack, you lead this one. What do you take from it?
My biggest thing that Andy said was how a lot of this filming, it was taken 4 or 5 months after he quit drinking, and this is coming from someone who he's very honest about the lifestyle he's led up to this point, that he was in a band who was like, would go out partying all the time and stuff. It's hard on him. I can imagine, like, when he was saying that he went home and like he was just spent from like taking a shoot, and it's because he's so, like, you know, in his voice how passionate he is about this role, and how he's like, even if he didn't have to, like, you question on like his method acting, and he was like, well, I didn't really method act, but at the same time I didn't really have to, because these are feelings which I already had there. And to do it, like, he's quite a discomforting position, but like, he's so on the other side of it, when he's like talking about it now, he's so proud that he was able to, like, you know, go through this, like put himself back into that realm and then come out on this side and still be stronger from it. I think it shows like what an amazing person Andy is, and like, now he's actually got like this product, this like thing which lives forever, to show that, like, well, 1, I'm a bloody good actor, and 2, I don't have to face like those demons that I had again, because like I can switch it on and off if I really want to. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, it really sounds like Ash's movie has really kind of, it's been a real like piece of therapy for these guys. I mean, again, it was so cool that Andy was so honest about, you know, saying that he was giving up alcohol, and that, like you say, I mean, he would go home after shooting scenes and just feel so spent from, you know, putting in all that emotion and facing all those very difficult things, and like having to dredge up those emotions. I thought that was really, really cool of him to admit. And like, some really sweet stuff as well. I mean, Ben brought up, but then being the kind of three musketeers of American Satan with, of course, John Bradley West, who plays Samuel Tarly in Game of Thrones. I mean, that just, it kind of brought such a kind of fun edge to the interviews as well, because like, it just sounds like a bit like Ben said, he kind of brought an element of comedy that maybe wasn't intended to be there in the first place. And Andy completely backed that up. And I thought that was really, really cool as well. I mean, Tamsin?
Yeah, I mean, what I've noted down from the interview is pretty much everything Jack said about how it was quite tough for Andy in that, you know, he'd only not long been sober and kind of had to, and was dealing with that personally himself, but then kind of having to go back through all those emotions and like bring back up things he probably kind of was trying to bury himself in order to play this character. It must have been really quite tough, like mentally and physically on him. So like, fair play for him to kind of powering through and continuing to play the character so well. And I think for both of them as well, like, you know, they've grown up together, and I did find it funny how Andy was like, we actually had quite a bit of rivalry when we both started out, and he was just like, people were saying things like, oh, Ben said this about you and Andy said this about you, so it was quite funny to hear that. But yeah, they've grown up together. They've done the party thing, but they've matured in themselves and as musicians and stuff. And it must have been really quite weird to kind of go completely back 10 years and just be like, what did we do when we first started these bands? Because this is what we now have to do again, but it's pretend. Like, it must have been really, really strange for them to kind of revisit things they'd probably forgotten about and been like, man, like, how did we do that? Like, how did we do those things as a band 10 years ago? Like,
I loved what he said as well about, you know, the fans, that he wanted to say to fans out there that, you know, this isn't him, this is just a character, like, not to tell him off or anything. I love that. It was such a great touch. So yeah, I just cannot wait to see it. I mean, the two of them have just made me want to see it so much. Had that effect on you guys?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Big style. Yeah, I think it's what I always said, that like, when you know this much, you just need to see it now. And I'm just hoping that now, like, seeing how much like heart and soul these two have put into this, that like it gets the reaction it deserves. Like, that people see it for what it is and understand like the power and the message, and like make it like, even if it's just a cult classic, like make it a classic, make it a cult classic. Like, just I hope it works out the way it should.
100%, absolutely. Yeah, huge shout out to Andy, brilliant, absolute legend for coming back on the podcast. And yeah, just can't wait to see the movie. So hopefully we'll have a review for you guys in the next few weeks. Fingers crossed. And you can read about all the American Satan stuff in the brand new issue. Cool. So RS shouts this week. We're tying directly with American Satan, bit of a special. So the best music-based films. Tamsin, you go first.
Originally, I wrote down Freaky Friday.
Oh, with what a film!
The one and only Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
The more modern one, if you can call it that. And I can confirm that I did actually learn the song, like the main song from the film, on guitar when I was about 15 or 16, which is hilarious. But I also tried to think of ones I'd actually seen more recently. And there is a really good film out. It's also on Netflix, if you want to watch it. It's called Dope. I don't know if either of you
I've
have seen it.
Yeah,
but
with A$AP Rocky.
Yeah. And Pharrell actually wrote most of the soundtrack for it. And the main song that's kind of featured throughout that the band in the film play it's sick. It's so good. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically about like teenagers grow up in a bit of a rough neighborhood, really want to make it. They have this punk band together and they really want to make it music, but kind of get tied up in the wrong crowds and doing other stuff. But kind of come out of it on top of everything and just kind of go off to do their music thing at the end. And it's a really, really cool film, actually. I really enjoyed it, so go and watch it if you haven't.
A brilliant shout. Yeah, I'm going to go with maybe this is a bit left field, I don't really know. School of Rock. It's one of those films, like the thing is, it's never like including things like, you know, Oscar films that are worthy of like being, you know, the best films of all time or anything like that, but it really is one of the...
it is one of the best films.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. It is one of the best films of all time. I mean, it's just, I've seen it countless times. I still quote it with my friends and family members all the time. It's a revelation of a film. And the songs in it, like, you know, the actual School of Rock song, the name escapes me at the moment.
Maybe we were making straight.
I've got it just like, today's assignment, kick them ass! Yeah.
Exactly, point proven. Like, what a song. I mean, that film is just, man, just Jack Black in that film is just an inspiration to us all. Big up Dewey Finn. And also shout out to Almost Famous on a bit more of a serious note.
Yeah.
Spinal Tap, forever and always, like, just one of the funniest, like, films about a rock band ever. Why Did Your Amp Go Up to 11? Because it does. And Anvil, if you've never seen it, like Anvil, like the story of Anvil, about one of Canadian's premium heavy metal bands, and how they've just never given up on the dream of like metal, like playing to 10 people, playing to 1,000 people, and just being very like just the honesty and like the heartwarming nature of it is just great. But yeah, School of Rock's best film ever made. So.
Awesome stuff. Cool. So interview 3. So new band spotlight. So we spoke to Stand Atlantic recently. We're laughing about this before we hit record. All the best bands at the moment seem to have Atlantic in the name. So now we're bringing you Chase Atlantic. They're a trio. They've just launched their debut album last Friday, and it's absolutely amazing. Basically, they're this completely unique trio that seems to be blending all kinds of different types of music, and they're guitar-based, but they also include saxophone on pretty much all songs, and a heavy use of beats and electronics as well. It seems to be bridging the worlds between rock music and EDM and hip-hop and all kinds of stuff. Really, really groundbreaking stuff. So we thought it'd be perfect opportunity to introduce you to the guys in the band. So Mitchell and Clinton Cave, their brothers, and Christian Anthony as well. Thought perfect opportunity to do that right now. So this is Chase Atlantic. Cool. So what we're doing with this is we want to introduce you guys to readers and listeners. And just get a sense about what the band's about, and with the album coming out, time with that. So let's start at the beginning then. Like, how did the band come together?
So basically, Clint and I have been making music since we were little ones, since we were about like 12 years old. Always just been doing it as a hobby because we were going to school and we were just making it on weekends and stuff. And then when we got a bit older, towards like 15, we met Christian. And then we just clicked straight away. And then we started taking it a little bit more seriously, and we started making a little bit more music together. And we had this collaboration going between the three of us that we really, really liked. And then after a few, maybe 1 or 2 years of doing that, we made the conscious decision to kind of pursue music as a career and become a band. And so that's how it all kind of came to life.
Awesome, because you focused on, instead of going off on gap years or going to uni or anything like that, you stayed and focused on music, and you've had that DIY. Exactly right. You've had that DIY ethos from the start. You said that you wanted to kind of make real music. Like, what did you mean by that? And what's the Australian music scene like with that in mind?
Well, I feel like the Australian music scene is a fantastic music scene. I feel like all the best music comes from the underground, or like the kind of not so popular music is the best music in Australia. I feel like the kind of commercial music in Australia is very
The Australian pop scene's like garbage.
Very trash, yes. So no disrespect to them, but we kind of wanted to.
No disrespect to them.
No disrespect, but the trash. But we kind of wanted to change that. We wanted to change all of that and try and make cool commercial music that was considered actually respectable.
Yeah, when we were younger, that was always the dream too. But like looking back, we weren't really pulling it off that well. We were kind of making shit music ourselves. But now we're finally at the stage where hopefully the music's not shit. I guess it's going well.
Awesome, yeah, because you guys are very musically unique. I mean, it sounds like you've been influenced by so many different things. Like I can hear The Weeknd, I can hear 1975, I can hear Sleeping with Sirens in there. Artists from so many different worlds. Is that a result of growing up loving all kinds of music?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a result of growing up listening to different people from Skrillex to the Beatles and stuff. I think it's just when we go to create music, we're not thinking like, oh, we want to grab a little bit of this, we want to grab a little bit of this, but it's just, just subconsciously, it's just the vibe we're going for is just something completely different. It's not like, it's not generic, and it's just completely natural to us to just create something that's kind of more of a fusion than relying on a specific or singular genre.
And we kind of came to realization that in order for us to be successful or or do bigger things in life, we had to kind of break away from being a specific sound genre. We had to make our own style of music.
Do you think it's crucial that bands find a kind of unique sound in this day and age? Because obviously so many bands are so instantly available, and do you think you really need that to stand out?
Definitely. Yeah. I feel like that's in this day and age, that's the only key factor, because it's so flooded, the music industry with just music. It's very what's the word you would use? Saturated.
You have lots of bands out there, but right now obviously you have cycles, and there's like 10, 20 year music cycles. Bands aren't as popular at the moment. Like, it was 2017. Hip hop is like the rock and roll genre right now. So for us, like, having that production element where we produce our own music, we're able to create hybrid genres, which kind of the timing and
they become more timeless.
We're not trying to just make a specific genre. We want to be able to be flexible and work to what people want to hear and what we want to hear.
In case you want to be full on rapid.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, because there's a real multi-instrumentation to your music as well. I mean, like Clinton, you play saxophone, heavily throughout the songs, and then there's a heavy use of beats along with also a heavy use of guitars. There's so much going on. Did that multi-instrumentation come from kind of being interested in so many different worlds and not wanting to just kind of put yourself in a pocket?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Like, we figured that
answered it for us.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Like, when it comes to terms of being able to what you can do within the limits of music. If you can do the most, then you should do the most.
Explore what you can and try out. Never be afraid to try out new little ideas. Like, if we're making a rock song or something, and Clinton's like, "Oh, I want to try to play saxophone with it." It's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's switch it up on them. Let's have sax in a rock song, or sax in a R&B song or something. Just whatever we want to try, and just see whatever sounds right. And if it sounds stupid, we don't release it.
And when we convert some of these more hip hop R&B songs to a live setting, we're a bit more of a rock band in a live setting, because obviously when you go to see live music, it's a bit more fun to watch a band playing rather than just one artist running around the stage. So we like to change up the genre a little bit when we perform live, and just So we could feel like we could do the best of a lot of worlds.
That's so cool. I mean, from that, you found solid success in Australia first. So where did the Maddens come in? Because I know you guys are based in America now. Like, where did they come in?
Split into our DMs. They hit up, I think, originally Clinton, or maybe the band account, but they slid into our DMs and just, originally we're just kind of saying nice things, like, we like your music. They said that they liked, he said, although we were kind of doing pop, because we were a little bit more poppy back then, he said, you got a kind of a fuck you attitude about it, which I thought was kind of cool to hear that from a member of a band that we grew up listening to. And then they came down to Australia because they were doing The Voice, and we met. And at the start, it was just, us hanging out. And before we even had any contracts or anything, they flew us all the way to America, put us in the studio, and they treated us like artists. Like, they just treated us how it was amazing. They really put us on. So
yeah, and they were just developing their company at the time as well.
Yeah,
so we were both kind of developing everything, and yeah, it's crazy to see how far both Chase Atlantic and the management company MDDN has come.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And you've been touring with Sleeping with Sirens, and that's on a bill that also features The White Noise and Palais Royale. All four of you guys sound totally different. Do you think diverse bills are the way forward?
I absolutely think so. I feel like when talking to fans and talking to people who have just come to see the shows afterwards, I say the favorite thing is that it is such a diverse bill. They're not hearing the same sound over and over again. It's very refreshing, I think, to hear 4 different sounds at a concert. It becomes becomes more interesting and becomes more enjoyable, and it keeps you kind of on your toes as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because you worked with Love McConan and K Camp as well on Into It, and would you, in that sense, would you tour with bands that are considered rock as much as you would bands that are considered pop or hip hop or EDM or anything like that?
That's exactly the case. Like, yeah, we don't want to restrict ourselves in any way whatsoever. That's why we're kind of able to do this Sleeping with Sirens tour, because we wouldn't really put ourselves into that kind of genre in the first place. But we've adapted to it very rapidly, and we're able to pull off these rockier shows. But like, we would be more than happy to tour with any artist doing any genre, as long as we respect that artist and respect that kind of music.
Amazing, yeah. Because is there? Do you think there's a bridging happening at the moment between music genres, musical worlds? Because I mean, like with you guys, bringing so much into one sound. Do you think that's kind of like? Do you think that's something that there's going to be more of as time goes on?
Yeah, I think it's very rapidly becoming a very common theme within music. Even rap right now at the moment is taking. A lot of rappers are starting to try and play guitars, and I think it's a great thing to see people starting to fuse genres together, because it's definitely happened previously in past times, but now more than ever, because of how saturated the music industry is, people are trying to come up with unique genres.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, could we see kind of more collaborations from you guys in the future as well? You know, obviously you've got the album coming out next month, but like, as you write more tunes, do you reckon there might be kind of different delvings into different sounds and different artists?
Yeah. Once we gain a little bit more popularity and a bit more, have a bit more positioning in the music scene, I guess, we'll have more artists that do respect the music and want to collaborate. So like with our first album, it's been quite hard to get any sort of cool features that we would desire on the album. But at the same time, we also wanted to make an album where we didn't need a bunch of features to do anything. We just wanted to have them on there for the pure fun of it, you know. But now, after this album, if it does go well, I can see ourselves working with more artists.
Yeah, we're always down for collaboration. Yeah. We're easy.
Amazing. And in terms of going into 2018, and what are your plans? Like, can we expect kind of, is it going to be more touring, or can we expect maybe a visit to our shores or things like that? What's the plan?
Yes. We're really hoping to kind of visit other countries and see what other markets we can kind of tap into, and really just get involved as much as possible with everything.
Amazing stuff. So, yeah, like, honestly, we have not stopped spinning this band in the office, and we know all you guys out there are absolutely loving them as well. They're picking up fans at such a quick rate. Jack, you're a big fan, right?
This album's brilliant. Like, it's just... every song on it, it's basically pop music for the rock fans out there. And this is what it would be like if, like... It's the perfect combination of mainstream and underground, and done so uniquely and done so perfectly. And the guys are just so young as well. That's the big thing about it. They're doing something which people double their age attempting and failing at, and it's just amazing. Like, every song on this album is a hit. Like, it's sexy. It's sexy. Like, it's sexy, it's aggressive, it's honest, it's dark, it's brooding. Like, they're just incredible. And my favourite thing about them as well is just how, like, in this chat, they just talk so much about they want to combine those worlds. They want to, like, break down whatever boundaries there are, even if there aren't any there, and just let people know that, like, they're quite a good spokes group for, like, just being yourself and, like, not pandering to other people's beliefs, or, like, sticking to one sound or sticking to one genre and feel like you have to. Like, when people like when the Madden Brothers are fans of you, like, when Good Charlotte is on your side, like, you know you're doing something right.
I love the way that they were just like, yes, the Madden Brothers just, like, slid into our DMs and were like, you're great, let's work together.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
okay,
like,
sure.
Yeah, like, that just doesn't happen, like, for most bands. Like, even bands in, like, pop punk, it doesn't happen to. So, and also, just saxophone, man.
It's happening, Jack.
Just
it's
happening.
I know it is. Like, it's the perfect instrument. This, and yeah, like, it's so important, this diversity in the music. It's like, they were recently on tour with Sleeping with Sirens, along with Pally Royal and The White Noise, and that as a lineup, like, that's such a spectrum. But also the fact that kids who like Sleeping Sirens are listening to this. Like, there's no lines anymore. Like, people aren't afraid to like stick to one lane. Like, it's like a revolution. Like, it's a pure revolution, and it's going to happen whether people want it or not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we said on our launch special that there's a chasm being blown open in music at the moment, and this is just the complete representation of that. I mean, we've got bands like Waterparks who are, also being, picked up and given opportunities by the Madden Brothers, and it's testament to just what is going on between worlds, and that, people like us and people like you guys out there, we all love so many different kinds of music, and these bands are doing that now. Like, there are no borders anymore. Like, like they said in the chat, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can put saxophone on a rock song. You can put beats on a rock song. It doesn't matter anymore, because what matters is how good the song is, and that's making things so exciting. And in the prospect, we've got a new Waterparks album coming. And all these amazing bands like Chase Atlantic are at the absolute top of that. I'm just so excited for more from these guys. Like, I cannot wait for them to come out to the UK.
I mean, it's the fact that kids who aren't even into rock music are gonna like know about this band, and they're gonna go, "Oh, you heard of this Chase Atlantic?" And like some kid with a fringe is gonna go, "Yeah, man, I've known about them for like a year." And it's just like, "What the hell? Like, how have you known this?" And it's because like they're just like in this realm. It's the new age of like how like it's how to cross that board. Like we've spoken before about advocates like Pete Wentz and how he's working with people like he's mates with Black Bear, and they get like Big Sean on records, and it's just not seen as like shocking anymore, because it's just normal. It's just like it's the norm now, and the more that's continuing, like the fact that Chase Atlantic have made an album like they have, which was released last Friday. I do say this honestly, if you haven't listened to it, just listen to it, because you'll have it on absolutely every day. It'll just like soundtrack your morning, soundtrack your evening, soundtrack your Uber drives like at 4 a.m. and bus rides at 4 p.m. Like if this is just the start, like God knows what's going to happen in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. Like it's very, very exciting. It's
an amazing prospect. Keep It Up is the tune as well. They've just released a video for that song. So if you want a starting point, honestly, check out that tune. One of the songs of the year is absolutely amazing.
I think my favourite's Cassie.
Oh, banger as well. Amazing. So huge shout out to Chase Atlantic. Get involved with them. Really, really exciting band, and really, really changing things. So huge shout out. So we're coming to an end. I say it always comes up too quick, but just quickly as well, shop.rocksound.tv, we have launched a brand new issue featuring an absolutely fascinating chat with Mr. Ronnie Radke, Falling in Reverse, on the cover. Absolutely amazing. Our editorial director, Ryan Bird, really delved in. Ronnie talks about the history of the band and what's been going on with the new album this year, the crazy tour surrounding that. Absolutely amazing read. If you're a Fallen in Reverse fan or not, it's an absolutely essential read. You can get the sticker bundle, which is 2 limited edition covers featuring a huge, very, very cool sticker sheet. You can get the deluxe bundle if you're a super fan. You get 2 limited edition covers, like with that bundle, but with an exclusive tote bag, an exclusive pin badge, hand-signed poster print by Ronnie himself, and of course the huge sticker sheet as well. It's so, so great. Honestly, please check it out. Has, as I say, absolutely essential read for anyone who's interested in music and rock music in general. Amazing stuff. Spotify playlist as well. The Rock Sound chart has been updated. Stay Ignorant, currently #1. Big up the Broco boys. Get involved with that. Follow us on Spotify. All kinds of playlists on there. If you want to delve back into the history of music, want to find out loads of like old bangers, check it out. New bangers, all on there. And Scuzz TV show, say completely new show on daily on Scuzz to fit in with the new magazine. Check it all out. Watch along, read along. All the new bangers are on there. So yeah, guys, you had a good time?
Always.
Yeah, always a good time.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool, so we will see you next week.
I won't.
Oh, but yes, of course.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm going on holiday for a week, so you'll have to just cope without my beautiful, like, smooth and lovely voice for...
Just cope with our smooth and lovely voices.
Yeah. So yeah, but I will be back the week after. I'm not going for too long. So I will see you in 2 weeks' time.
All right. Bye, Tamsin.
Bye.
Yeah, we'll have someone else. We're not sure who's going to come in yet, but Maybe Tom Morgan, we'll see.
Nobody can replace me.
Well, no, of course not. But just for the week, yeah, Tom Morgan, if you're listening, you're in. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, love you.
Bye.